Why men act distant when they're falling for you. Have you ever felt like things were going great with a guy, only for him to suddenly act distant or pull away when things start to get more serious? You're not alone. It's a situation that confuses many women and leaves them wondering if they've done something wrong. But what if his emotional distance isn't a sign that he's lost interest in you? What if, in fact, it's a sign that he's falling for you in a way that he's not quite ready to express? Believe it or not, it's a common dynamic that plays out when men start developing deep feelings for someone. As men experience the intensity of love, they often face a mix of emotions they aren't always equipped to handle. These emotions can lead to withdrawal, leaving you to question where you stand and why things have suddenly changed. Understanding the psychology behind this behavior can give you clarity and open your eyes to what's really going on beneath the surface. If you've ever wondered why men sometimes seem to pull away just when they're starting to fall for you, this video is for you. We're about to dive deep into the psychology of men and explain why this happens. By the end, you'll have a much clearer understanding of his behavior, and you'll be able to navigate the ups and downs of your relationship with patience, confidence, and a deeper awareness of what's going on inside his mind. From fears of vulnerability to struggles with emotional regulation, we'll explore the top 10 psychological reasons why men act distant when they're actually falling for you. So if you're ready to decode his actions, keep watching, and let's uncover what's really behind those puzzling moments of distance. 1. Fear of vulnerability. When a man starts falling for someone, it's natural for him to feel a wide range of emotions: excitement, fear, hope, but one of the most powerful feelings he may experience is a fear of vulnerability. The deeper the connection grows, the more exposed he feels, and that can be a terrifying prospect. For many men, vulnerability is equated with weakness. This is something that society has ingrained in them from a young age, to be strong, stoic, and in control of their emotions. When he begins to feel those deeper emotions for you, it might challenge everything he believes about what it means to be a man. Rather than risk showing this emotional side of himself, he might pull back, creating distance to shield himself from the intensity of those feelings. He's not pulling away because he doesn't care about you, quite the opposite. He may actually care more deeply than he realizes, but the fear of exposing his heart and being hurt in return can drive him to retreat. This fear can also be amplified if he has been hurt before. Previous experiences of rejection or heartbreak can make him reluctant to let down his guard again. In these moments, it's crucial to remember that this distance isn't about you, it's about his internal conflict. His desire to connect with you is battling with his fear of being vulnerable. It's important to give him the space he needs to work through this emotional tension, without taking his distance personally. Showing him patience and understanding, without pushing him too hard, can help him feel safe enough to open up when he's ready. 2. Overthinking his actions. When a man starts to fall for someone, he can become hyper-aware of his actions and the way they might be perceived. Every word he says, every gesture he makes, is scrutinized under a microscope in his mind. He worries that one wrong move could send the wrong message or make him seem too eager, too emotional, or too vulnerable. This overthinking often leads to a paradoxical outcome: he pulls away, which might seem like he's losing interest, but in reality, it's his way of trying to control the situation. This overthinking is tied to a deep fear of rejection. He wants to make sure that everything he does is exactly right and that he's not doing anything to jeopardize the potential for a deeper connection. However, this need for perfection can create pressure, and that pressure often results in him withdrawing. He might feel like he's walking on eggshells, constantly wondering if he's doing enough to make you happy or if he's somehow going to mess things up. This behavior is rooted in a desire to avoid making mistakes, especially the kind that could break the connection he values. Ironically, though, his distance often has the opposite effect. By pulling back, he's trying to take a step back to assess the situation and gain clarity on how to approach things. It's not a sign that he's indifferent, but rather a sign that he cares deeply about how he's coming across to you and doesn't want to make any missteps. If you can recognize that he's simply trying to manage his own anxieties, you may be able to offer him reassurance and understanding, which can help him feel more confident in moving forward. 3. Struggles with emotional regulation. Men are often socialized to suppress their emotions or at least to manage them in ways that aren't always healthy. This can create challenges when they begin to experience emotions that are intense and overwhelming, like falling in love. While some people may be able to express their feelings easily, many men struggle with emotional regulation. The depth of what they feel may catch them off guard, and they may not know how to handle it. When these emotions hit, he may retreat in order to process everything internally. He's not unsure about his feelings, but rather he's trying to come to terms with them. Men, especially in the United States, are often taught to bottle things up, so when they start experiencing a strong emotional connection, it can feel like a storm inside. They don't necessarily know how to process this flood of emotions in real time, so they withdraw to get a handle on things. During this period of emotional recalibration, he may be doing a lot of inner work to figure out how to align his feelings with his actions. The emotional intensity of falling for someone can feel like a whirlwind, and he may need time to catch his breath before diving back into the relationship with full emotional availability. His distance isn't a reflection of his lack of affection for you, it's just his way of managing the overwhelming emotions he's facing. If you recognize that his distance is about him working through these emotions, you'll have a better understanding of what's happening and be able to give him the space he needs to process. 4. Testing the depth of the connection. At times, a man might pull away not because he's losing interest, but because he's subconsciously testing the strength of the connection. He wants to know if you'll miss him, if you'll reach out, and if you'll notice his absence. This isn't a manipulative move, it's simply a way for him to gauge whether you're as invested in the relationship as he is. He may be seeking reassurance that the feelings are mutual. This testing phase can feel confusing, as his actions may seem like mixed signals, but in reality, he's just trying to understand where you stand and whether the connection has real depth. If you respond with patience and empathy, showing him that you value the relationship, it can strengthen his confidence in the bond you share. However, if he senses indifference or if you pull back in return, he may interpret that as a lack of interest and retreat even further. It's important to approach this situation with understanding. He's not trying to play games, he's just seeking reassurance. If you remain open, patient, and emotionally available, it will give him the security he needs to fully engage in the relationship. 5. Striving for independence. One of the most common reasons a man might pull away when he's falling for you is the desire to preserve his sense of independence. Men, particularly in Western cultures like the U.S., are often raised with the notion that independence and autonomy are crucial aspects of their identity. Being in a relationship can feel like it poses a threat to that autonomy. As his emotional attachment to you deepens, he might subconsciously feel as though he's losing a part of himself. To combat this, he might create distance to reassert his individuality. This doesn't mean he's rejecting you or the relationship. Instead, he's trying to maintain control over his personal life, passions, and goals. He might want to ensure that, even though he's emotionally invested in you, he still has space to pursue his own interests and maintain a sense of freedom. This is often a balancing act. He wants to be with you, but he doesn't want to feel like he's losing himself in the process. For men, maintaining this balance between being emotionally available and holding on to their independence can be tricky. It's not that they don't value the relationship or the connection they share with you, but that they are struggling with finding a healthy balance between closeness and self-preservation. Understanding this dynamic can help you give him the breathing room he needs while still showing him that you support his independence. 6. Fear of expectations. The closer a man gets to someone, the higher the expectations he believes he needs to meet. These expectations, whether real or perceived, can be a huge source of pressure. The fear of not measuring up, of disappointing you, or of failing to meet your emotional or social needs can cause him to pull back. When feelings become deeper, there can also be a fear that he's not going to live up to the traditional roles that society expects him to fulfill, such as being a provider, protector, or emotional rock. Men are often socialized to be the strong one in relationships, and when those expectations grow, it can feel overwhelming. They worry about the possibility of not being able to live up to those ideals, which can result in emotional withdrawal. His distance during this time is a coping mechanism. It's not that he's not interested in you, but that he's trying to figure out how he can meet these expectations without failing or disappointing you. It's important to understand that his pulling away is a reflection of his internal battle to align his feelings with what he thinks he should be offering in the relationship. The pressure to meet those expectations can cause anxiety, and by distancing himself, he's giving himself space to process and figure out how to move forward without feeling overwhelmed by those perceived roles. Offering support and reassurance during this time can help him feel more secure and confident in his ability to meet those expectations without letting his fears dominate. 7. Unresolved past trauma. For many men, past experiences with heartbreak, betrayal, or emotional pain can have a lasting impact on their ability to trust and open up in future relationships. If he's been hurt before, especially if it was a deep emotional wound, falling for someone new can bring up a lot of unresolved feelings. The very act of opening up to someone else can trigger past memories of pain and fear. This emotional baggage might lead him to withdraw as a defense mechanism. He's not necessarily doubting his feelings for you, but the vulnerability of falling for someone new can stir up all kinds of fears about getting hurt again. His emotional withdrawal is not a reflection of his feelings for you, it's his subconscious way of protecting himself from possible heartbreak. If you're dealing with a man who has unresolved trauma from the past, patience is key. He may need time to heal and rebuild his trust in love and relationships. His emotional distance isn't about you, it's about him needing to protect himself until he feels safe enough to fully invest in the connection. If you're supportive and understanding without pushing him, you can help him feel more secure and ready to open up in his own time. 8. Feeling unworthy of the connection. There's an often overlooked reason why a man might act distant when he's falling for you: the feeling that he's not good enough for you. If a man admires you deeply, he might struggle with feelings of inadequacy or insecurity. He may wonder if he deserves someone as amazing as you, or whether he's worthy of your love and attention. This self-doubt can create emotional distance as he tries to come to terms with these feelings of unworthiness. When a man feels unworthy, it can manifest as withdrawal. He may question his value in your life and whether he has the qualities you're looking for. This internal struggle can be so powerful that it causes him to pull away, not because he doesn't care, but because he's wrestling with his own insecurities. He may believe that you deserve someone better than him, and this belief can create a barrier that prevents him from fully embracing the relationship. For women in this situation, it's important to provide reassurance without pressuring him. Let him know that you value him for who he is and that you appreciate his unique qualities. Sometimes, a simple affirmation of his worth can go a long way in helping him feel more confident and secure in the connection. 9. Wanting to maintain mystery. Sometimes, a man will distance himself because he's trying to maintain an element of mystery in the relationship. The idea is that by not revealing everything about himself or being overly available all the time, he can keep the excitement and intrigue alive. He might feel that if he's too open or too present, the relationship could lose some of the spark that makes it exciting. This is not about playing games or intentionally pushing you away. It's about pacing the relationship in a way that maintains the attraction. He might want to keep things dynamic and prevent the relationship from feeling predictable or too comfortable too quickly. In a sense, by pulling back slightly, he's creating a balance of closeness and distance that allows both partners to continue to feel intrigued and curious about each other. If you're in this situation, try not to take it personally. It's not a sign that he doesn't care or isn't interested in you. In fact, he may care a great deal, but he's simply trying to ensure that the connection remains exciting and doesn't feel rushed. The key here is patience and understanding that he's trying to protect the natural flow of the relationship. 10. Protecting his masculinity. Men are often conditioned to view masculinity through a lens of emotional restraint and stoicism. This societal expectation can make them feel uncomfortable with the vulnerability that comes with falling in love. When he starts to experience deeper emotions, he may feel like it threatens his image of what it means to be masculine. In response, he might withdraw emotionally, acting distant as a way to preserve his sense of emotional control. This behavior is not an indication that he's rejecting you or the relationship, but rather a reflection of the internal struggle he's facing. He wants to embrace his feelings, but he's also trying to navigate societal expectations of emotional composure and self-reliance. His distance is his way of protecting his image of masculinity while figuring out how to reconcile his emotions with these expectations. Understanding this internal struggle can help you approach the situation with compassion. It's important to remember that his distance isn't about you. It's about him finding a way to embrace his emotions without feeling like he's compromising his sense of self. Over time, as he becomes more comfortable with his feelings, he may feel more at ease expressing himself fully in the relationship. Conclusion. Now that we've explored the 10 psychological reasons why men might act distant when they're falling for you, you should have a clearer understanding of what's happening behind the scenes. Remember, a man pulling away isn't always a sign of disinterest or rejection. Often, it's a reflection of internal struggles he's trying to navigate as he processes his emotions. By recognizing these signs and approaching them with patience, empathy, and understanding, you can create a space where he feels safe enough to open up and deepen the connection. If you've enjoyed this video and found it insightful, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. For more fascinating topics on relationships and psychology, make sure to check out the recommended video on the screen now. Thanks for watching.